On New Year's Day of our 5th year of marriage, I gave birth to our second child. Happy New Year, blessed with both a son and a daughter, a harmonious family, and a loving husband. These were the most beautiful words I could think of. But that same night, as I lay awake from post-childbirth pain, I picked up my sleeping husband's phone and saw an unread message. Baby, did she have the baby? Can we meet tomorrow night? I miss you. Love you. Before we continue, subscribe to this channel and tell us where you're listening from in the comments. Holding the phone, I felt as if I'd plunged into an icy abyss. The sender's profile picture was adorable, a Hello Kitty in a spacesuit with a pink bow on its round helmet and eyes crinkled in a smile. And that's when I noticed my husband's profile picture, a Gundam in a spacesuit, was a matching couple's avatar. My hands trembled as I opened their chat history. Obscene messages, playful banter, shared moments, and the most intimate, flirtatious words between a man and a woman. My world spun, and I prayed this was just a nightmare. I miss you. Love you. They said this to each other every day. But how long had it been since my husband and I spoke like that? Ethan, do you even remember who your legal wife is? Tears streamed down my face. I swiped the screen, and a photo of a little boy popped up. Noah, my son with Ethan, 5 years old, energetic, and at his most mischievous. Because Ethan and my mother-in-law couldn't get along, I'd been raising Noah alone since he started preschool at 3. When I got pregnant with our second child, I'd nearly miscarried from overwork. I'd endured 3 months of prenatal injections to save the baby, leaving my hips covered in bruises. Every day, I dropped Noah off at school, went to work, then dragged my pregnant belly to the hospital alone during my lunch break for injections. Was it hard? I'd never thought about it. I told myself Ethan worked hard to support us. Noah was well behaved, and the baby in my belly was a beacon of hope. This was the happiest life I could ask for. But this chat history, while I struggled to care for our son, Ethan was checking into hotels with his mistress, then texting each other reviews of their performance. While I braved the scorching sun to get my injections alone, his mistress complained about the heat, and Ethan cooed that he'd buy her a car right away. After 7 years of marriage, I still took Ubers or the subway everywhere. He'd never once offered to buy me a car. He'd never spoken to me with such tenderness. Even on nights he lay beside me, he was laughing with this woman, asking her for revealing photos, telling her she was all he could think about. All he could think about. Then what am I? My emotions must have overwhelmed me, compounded by just giving birth. Suddenly, I felt a warm gush between my legs, followed by a strong smell of blood. Dizzy, I hastily slipped Ethan's phone back into his pocket before blacking out. When I woke up, the first sound I heard was a baby's cry, faint, like my newborn daughter, Luna, but no one was with her. I struggled to sit up, ignoring the bleeding, and held her in my arms. The tiny, soft bundle felt fragile in my hands. Her delicate features looked just like her brother's and their father's. The hospital room door opened. Ethan walked in, talking on his phone. He glanced at us coldly and said gently to the person on the other end, "I'll call you later." He sat on the edge of the bed. "Why did you sleep so long?" I stared at him, my eyes blazing with rage. Who was he calling? That woman. He hadn't noticed his wife had fainted after childbirth, hadn't cared that his daughter was crying herself red in the face, all because he was on the phone with another woman. Anger surged through me, and I almost blurted out my thoughts. But Luna let out another cry, pulling me back to my senses. I forced myself to calm down. "Where were you?" Luna was crying. "And you didn't even check on her." "Had some things to take care of." "Do I have to handle everything with the baby?" "What are you here for as a mother?" He spoke casually, pulling out his phone to scroll. Suddenly, he smiled at the screen. I felt like I was going crazy. Every time he touched his phone, I imagined him chatting with that woman. What were they laughing about? Those dirty, obscene words. Did he enjoy talking to her that much, while he couldn't be bothered to say a single kind word to me? Why? Why him? And how dare he? He looked up, annoyed. "Can't you hear the baby crying?" I snapped back to reality, realizing I'd been holding Luna too tightly in my anger. As I soothed her, Ethan stood up. "You'll be okay, right? I have more things to do. I'll be back tonight." "What are you going to do?" I shouted, shocked by the venom in my own voice. Ethan jumped, eyeing me suspiciously. "Go to work." "Obviously. What else?" "What's with that tone? Do you think I'm accusing you of something?" He narrowed his eyes. Panic flooded me. I avoided his gaze, stammering, "Aren't you? Aren't you going to stay with me? I just had a baby." "You've had 2 kids already. Stop being melodramatic." "You're fine. I'm leaving." Before I could respond, the door slammed shut behind him. I sat frozen for a long time, holding the sleeping Luna. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone. I dialed my mother-in-law's number and burst into tears. "Mom." My mother-in-law rushed over. As soon as she walked in, she started scolding Ethan. What was he thinking? Not telling us you were having the baby, and now he leaves you here alone. How can you take take care of yourself and the baby as a new mom. She took Luna from me, kissed her gently, and asked, "Is Noah at your parents' house?" I nodded through tears. My mother-in-law thought I was upset about Ethan's absence. She patted my hand, comforting me. "I'll talk to him later. Don't cry. You can't cry right after giving birth." I nodded, but I couldn't understand. How could such a kind mother-in-law and a strict father-in-law raise a son who could do something like this? How could the man who'd sworn to love me forever refuse to care for me after childbirth, choosing instead to run to another woman? I wanted to ask why, but I knew I'd get no answers. My mother-in-law efficiently took care of me and Luna. That's when I noticed the postpartum pad on the bed was soaked with blood. She panicked and called the doctor, who confirmed I was showing signs of heavy bleeding. I was forced to stay in the hospital for another 2 weeks. During that time, my parents and my in-laws visited almost every day. Everyone except Ethan, my husband, the father of my children, the man who'd promised to love me forever. He only visited once. In a hurry, after my mother-in-law scolded him, he threw a tantrum at me and never came back. I spent my days in a daze, tears falling unconsciously. My mind kept wandering to Ethan. Was he with her right now? Were they doing the most intimate things that should only be between a husband and wife? Was he telling her he loved her, like he'd once told me? Had he really abandoned me, Noah, and our family for her? The day we went home, I stood at the door, staring at the dusty, empty living room. Tears poured down my face. Noah ran over and hugged me, his cute face filled with confusion. "Mommy, why are you crying again?" I knelt down, wrapping my arms around his warm little body, and sobbed uncontrollably. How could I tell him his father had never come home? For 2 weeks, he hadn't been home or to the hospital. Where else could he be? Had he become so bold, so unafraid of me finding out? Did he really not want me, Noah, or our family anymore? My mother-in-law carried Luna inside, shocked by the state of the house. She quickly realized what had happened and flew into a rage. "Ethan, that," she stopped, looking awkwardly at me, trying to make excuses. "He's probably just swamped with work." "Honey," I said nothing, feeling like my soul had been torn from my body. I collapsed onto the bed, my heart broken. "Let's get divorced," I thought, just divorce him. But when I looked at Noah and Luna, I couldn't bring myself to do it. Maybe Ethan had just made a mistake. Maybe he'd come back to his senses and return to our family. My children didn't deserve to grow up without a father. I drifted in and out of sleep for days. Luckily, my mother-in-law took care of the kids, and my mom stopped by to help when she could. Ethan, though, never came home. On the day I finished my postpartum recovery, both sides of our family came to celebrate Luna's 1-month-old ceremony. I heard my mother-in-law calling Ethan in the next room, ordering him to come home immediately, no matter what he was doing. My heart ached. I sat in front of the vanity, staring at the haggard woman in the mirror. Should I dress up to please that cheating man, or give up entirely? I didn't have to choose. My mother-in-law walked in, picked out an outfit for me, and pushed me to wash up and get ready. But it was all for nothing. Ethan did come home, but he never put his phone down, and he never looked up at me. After the celebration, when everyone left, I sat on the bed and watched Ethan walk toward me, his face expressionless. A sense of foreboding washed over me, and tears burst from my eyes. Ethan spoke. "You know, don't you?" I looked up at him, my face twisted with anger and grief, but I could only sob helplessly. He showed no sympathy. He even frowned. "Let's get divorced. You can have the kids and the house." How generous of him. I couldn't help but laugh through my tears. "She'll still stay with you if you have nothing. Mia's not that kind of woman." "Never mind. You wouldn't understand. Pack your things. We'll file for divorce in a few days." Ethan didn't stay another minute. He slammed the door and left. Luna, who'd just fallen asleep, was jolted awake and started crying. Noah ran over, standing at the door, looking lost. "Mommy." I held both my children and cried until I had no more tears. For the first time, I realized how much a person could cry. I didn't want a divorce. I didn't want my children to grow up without a father. I didn't want to give the man I'd loved for years to another woman. But Ethan was dead set on it. He called repeatedly to urge me. In his last call, he accidentally slipped up. I found out Mia was already 2 months pregnant. I cried as I called my mother-in-law. She was so angry she said she'd kill Ethan, that she'd choose me as her daughter-in-law over her own son. But it didn't matter. Ethan was unshakable. He only wanted a divorce. I had no choice but to pretend to agree. I just wanted to see him one more time, talk to him, and try to win him back. But then I heard news. my mother-in-law's family's old property in upstate New York was getting demolished. That cheating bastard was afraid I'd claim a share of the demolition compensation, so he was in a hurry to kick me out. Even a clay figurine has a temper. I called Ethan and cursed at him, using the most vicious words I could think of, but Ethan laughed on the other end. Sophia, since you already know, I won't lie. You're not getting a penny of the demolition money. I suggest you be sensible and sign the divorce papers quickly. I'll leave some money for the kids. Mia's already upset because of you. If you keep dragging this out, don't blame me for being ruthless. When I received the court summons, I finally gave up all hope of saving our marriage. Fine, let's get divorced. When Ethan and Mia heard I'd agreed, they were overjoyed. They even showed up at my door in the middle of the night, insisting on watching me sign the divorce papers right then and there. No one expected that after Ethan left Mia's house, he never arrived at mine. The next day, I got a call from the police. They asked me to come identify a body. Ethan was dead. Cause of death: car accident. The other driver was drunk and speeding. It felt like a dream. I stumbled into the morgue, staring at that familiar yet unfamiliar face. After a moment, I couldn't help but vomit. He was dead. Ethan was dead. How could he die like this? While he was lying to me, betraying me, and preparing to abandon me. I didn't know how to feel. I vomited, cried, and laughed all at once. A policewoman helped me up and handed me a bottle of water. Is he really dead? I asked through blurred eyes, knowing it was a stupid question. The policewoman sighed, supporting me. Yes. Everything after that felt like a blur. My father-in-law and mother-in-law lost their only son. No matter how angry they'd been with him the day before, seeing Ethan lying on the cold morgue table made them cry uncontrollably. My parents took care of the kids, worried about me, and helped handle Ethan's accident. They were exhausted. I just stared at everything, feeling sad but powerless to help, until my mom sat me down to talk. She looked older, worn out from the recent chaos. She sighed, taking my hand and calling me by my daughter's nickname, Luna. Mom, I whispered, my lips trembling. I had no more tears left. I stared at her, my eyes burning. She didn't cry, but tears streamed down her face. She touched my forehead, speaking gently, Luna, it's time to move on. I looked at her, confused. Ethan's been gone for 2 days. Your Luna is not even 100 days old. She's still so small, and she needs her mom. And Noah, he already lost his dad. He's been crying for you lately. My eyes flickered. A crack appeared in my frozen heart. Yes, I was a mom now. Your mother-in-law lost her only child, but she's pulled through for Noah and Luna. My mom hesitated, then sighed, that Mia, she's been coming to the house to make trouble. Your mother-in-law was afraid it would hurt you. At nearly 60, she threw away all her dignity and chased Mia away with a stick. Luna, Ethan wasn't a good man, but now you have 2 children, both sides of our family, and you still have yourself. Please, move on. Can you do that? My eyes trembled. I finally understood where the crying and shouting I'd heard lately had come from. My children were calling for me, and my 2 mothers were protecting me. What had I been doing? I'd let myself drown in grief over a cheating husband, leaving everything to 2 children and 4 elderly people, and that husband was a traitor. He didn't deserve my sorrow. After that talk with my mom, I finally left my bedroom. When Noah wrapped his little arms around me, and when I heard him and his sister crying together, I covered my eyes with one hand and cried for the last time. After crying, it was a new beginning. Both sides of the family had handled the police and the accident. Ethan's funeral was fast approaching, but we couldn't set a date, afraid Mia would come to make trouble. My mother-in-law sat across from me, looking exhausted, sighing repeatedly as she glanced at me. Mom, tell me what's wrong. I can handle it. I handed her a glass of warm water. My mother-in-law looked ashamed. It's that Mia, she's pregnant with Ethan's child. She's talking about inheritance law, and she wants to claim a share. She couldn't go on. Her feelings for Ethan must have been even more complicated than mine. She'd raised him with care, but he'd done something morally reprehensible. Before she could even vent her anger, he was gone. When someone dies, all grievances are supposed to be forgiven. If only that were true. Now, he'd left behind a sinful debt. Mia's baby was definitely Ethan's, otherwise she wouldn't have the nerve to show up so many times. My mother-in-law looked even more anxious. She's talking about applying for a judicial order, getting an amniocentesis, and a paternity test. I was confused. Mom, Ethan didn't leave much inheritance. Did he? Did Mia really want to fight me for this house, even in cash? Ethan had always spent recklessly. He hadn't saved much. Oh, right. I almost forgot to tell you. Ethan, he died in a car accident, and the other driver was drunk. As my mother-in-law stumbled through the story, I finally understood. Ethan hadn't earned much money, but the drunk driver's family was willing to pay $5 million in compensation, asking for my letter of forgiveness to reduce the driver's sentence. And my mother-in-law's old property was indeed getting demolished. demolished. Ethan was her only son, and he'd hidden the demolition from me, convincing her to handle it alone. The bank account was in his name, and nearly $10 million in demolition compensation was about to be deposited into it. He'd planned to leave me, take the money, and live with his mistress. Thinking about it now, I only found it funny, not sad. Sophia, you know your father-in-law, and I see you as our own daughter. My mother-in-law wiped her tears. Now that Ethan's gone, at least we still have Noah and little Luna. I understood what she meant. Ethan was gone, and I was still young. She was afraid I'd remarry with the kids. Even if Noah kept the last name Carter, he'd have a new dad and new grandparents. She wanted me to get the money, not for me, but for the children. Once, I would have felt hurt, but now, I understood. It was only human. I squeezed her hand. Mom, I'll always be your daughter-in-law. My mother-in-law froze, then nodded repeatedly. Good. We'll always be a family. Good. She'd known me for years. She knew I wasn't saying this for the money. For one thing, she was like a second mom to me, and after what Ethan did, I had no trust or expectations left for men. I pulled myself together. I'd wanted to send Ethan off properly, grateful that he'd given me 2 lovely children, but Mia kept coming back. This time, she stood outside the door, hitting it frantically with a studded purse and shouting, Sophia, I know you're inside. Come out if you have the guts. You dare to spend the money Ethan died for, aren't you afraid? He never wanted you to spend his money. He didn't want to when he was alive. He only wanted to spend it on me. This is Ethan's baby in my belly. He deserves to see his dad one last time. Why won't you let me in? Why won't you let us mother and son in? She threw a tantrum, rolling on the floor, as if she'd saved all her tricks for this moment. My mother-in-law had a headache from the noise. I told her to rest in the next room, then walked to the door. Through the security gate, I looked at Mia carefully for the first time, my husband's mistress. She was in her early 20s, young and beautiful, dressed in trendy clothes with perfect makeup, but her makeup was smudged from crying. Compared to me, who'd gone makeup-free since having Noah, I did look less attractive. No, I was being silly. Why compare myself to a mistress? Her belly was still flat. I glanced at it, cutting to the chase. What do you want? I just want to see Ethan one last time. I want to see his body. Mia put on a pitiful look. I laughed. Mia, you know illegally obtained human tissue can't be used for a formal paternity test. Right. As I'd hoped. Mia's face changed. Since my mother-in-law had told me about her plans, I'd researched extensively and consulted a lawyer friend. In this case, only if the judicial authorities intervened, legally obtained tissue from Ethan's body, and took Mia to an accredited institution for testing would the results be valid and recognized by the court. Mia glared at me, growling after a moment, but this is Ethan's baby. Then go tell him. Why tell me? I smiled. You can't keep Ethan's money all to yourself. I'm telling you, Sophia, my baby is Ethan's too. He has rights, and he deserves his share. Before she could finish, I slammed the door shut, but after closing it, I couldn't ignore my worries. A posthumous child did have inheritance rights, with the drunk driving compensation and the demolition money involved. If Mia applied for a paternity test, a portion of Ethan's inheritance would have to be reserved for her child. I walked back to the bedroom, meeting my mother-in-law's worried eyes. I bit my lip and said, Mom, let's lay Ethan to rest soon. My mother-in-law stumbled, her eyes turning red instantly, but she nodded. Okay, we'll have the funeral, with his ashes. She'd probably thought about it too, but couldn't bring herself to do it. According to our customs, the body was used for the funeral and wake before being cremated and buried. But now, Ethan was still in the morgue's freezer. I went to pick him up myself, taking him directly to the funeral home. As I watched his body being slowly pushed into the crematorium furnace, I listened to the expensive funeral fireworks I'd bought for him. Ethan, I kept my promise. All my life with you. I'd loved you wholeheartedly, never wanting anything else. I was good to you. Now that you're gone, I'll live for myself and our children. As for the debts you left behind, you'll have to pay them yourself. Goodbye. Ethan, watching the black smoke rise, I suddenly felt a weight lift from my chest. In the end, everyone ends up in this furnace. Why had I been trapping myself? That afternoon was Ethan's funeral. Dressed in black, holding Luna, I walked behind my mother-in-law, who held Noah's hand. Not many guests came. Funerals where parents bury their child are too painful. Only close friends and relatives attended. And sure enough, Mia came again. This time, she wasn't alone. She brought a group of people, well-dressed men, who I guessed were lawyers. She really hadn't given up. Unfortunately, the coffin didn't contain what she wanted. Ms. Sophia, I'm representing Ms. Mia. I'm here to collect hair or tissue samples from Mr. Ethan for a paternity test, which will be submitted to the court. The lawyer spoke clearly. He added directly, I'm sorry, Ms. Sophia, but you have no right to refuse. Under U.S. inheritance law, non-marital children are explicitly included as first-in-line heirs. Ms. Mia has provided legal evidence that her child is Ethan's posthumous offspring. The judicial authorities are now involved, and all procedures are legal. We ask for your understanding. After speaking to me, he said the same thing to my in-laws. My father-in-law's face turned livid. He was ashamed of his son, especially with relatives and friends present. Mia swaggered over, smirking at me. I told you, Sophia, you didn't have to make this so ugly. If you'd let me see Ethan yesterday, this could have been avoided. Ugh. I didn't want to disturb him either, but a child has the right to see his father. Isn't that true? Her waist was still slim, wrapped in a black dress that looked elegant. She leaned down, her red lips brushing my ear as she whispered, by the way, do you want to know what Ethan said about you? Old, ugly, stupid, and like a dead fish in bed. He found you completely unappealing. He got tired of looking at you, but you actually thought he loved you. Thought your family was harmonious. Hilarious. I might as well tell you, I stole Ethan from another woman too. Before me, he'd had no idea how many women, but only I got pregnant with his child. Only I could make him divorce you. Sophia, your husband never loved you. He slept with so many women, but he refused to touch you. He loved so many women, but he never loved you again. And the person he loved the most was me. After speaking, Mia laughed loudly, looking down at me with the arrogance of a winner. Once, these words would have destroyed me. Ethan, the boy who'd run up 13 flights of stairs just to bring me a box of painkillers. Sophia, does it still hurt? I also brought you hot milk. Sweaty hair stuck to his bright eyes, and his passionate gaze had lit up my entire youth. From campus to wedding, from dating to marriage. I'd never imagined that one day I'd hear these words about myself from another woman. I was sad, but surprisingly, I also felt a sense of relief and amusement. I really didn't understand what Mia was proud of. Was stealing someone else's husband, luring a man away from another woman, something to celebrate. Couldn't she tell this man was dirty? I certainly could. He didn't deserve to be Noah and Luna's father. Even if Ethan were still alive, I wouldn't want him back. I was done with him. Feeling even more relieved, I smiled and said to Mia, thank you for telling me that. My reaction didn't satisfy her. Mia's smile faded, and she looked at me in disbelief. Aren't you angry? That's your husband. He was going to divorce you for me. I said nothing, just kept smiling. Mia looked flustered. Sophia, you're still smiling. Have you lost your mind? She narrowed her eyes. Could it be that you don't love Ethan anymore? I didn't answer, just kept watching her performance with a smile. This annoyed Mia, but she quickly laughed again. It doesn't matter if you love him or not. I'm carrying Ethan's child, and a posthumous child can inherit his estate. What? The lawyer suddenly exclaimed, cutting Mia off. Mia froze, glancing at him in panic before looking back at me. What did you do? Nothing. I smiled faintly. What can you do when someone's dead? Mia must have sensed something was wrong. She rushed toward Ethan's coffin. I took the chance to comfort Noah. Even though he was young, he'd felt the tension. Thankfully, Noah had grown up a lot. He hugged me and said, I'll protect you from now on. Mommy, don't be sad. The warmth of my child made me even more relieved. I hugged his soft little body and smiled. Okay, from now on, Noah will protect Mommy. Meanwhile, Mia let out a scream of rage. Ethan, where is he? Where's Ethan? I looked up, smiling, at the coffin. Mia loved Ethan so much, unable to see him one last time. She threw away all her dignity and started throwing a tantrum. Rolling on the floor beside his coffin, she collapsed onto the ground, her once perfect outfit now covered in dirt. Why? How dare you? He hasn't been buried yet. Why did you cremate him? The lawyer sighed helplessly. Mia shouted frantically, I don't believe it. Is there really nothing we can do? She even pointed at my in-laws, telling the lawyer to pull their hair for a paternity test. The lawyer politely told her that would only prove a blood relationship, not inheritance rights. Ah! Mia screamed, clutching her head. Why is this happening? Why? I can't accept this. Sophia, was it you? You're a monster. You cremated him before his funeral. You actually cremated him, unable to get Ethan's tissue samples, unable to get a paternity test, unable to get a penny of the inheritance. Mia completely lost her mind. She acted like a madwoman, causing chaos at Ethan's funeral and even knocking the coffin sideways. Some ashes spilled out onto the ground, and Mia stepped on them without hesitation, making a mess. I watched, amused. Ethan, the woman you abandoned your children and family for is the one making sure you can't rest in peace. My in-laws couldn't take it anymore and called the police. Soon, police cars arrived, and the scene became even more chaotic. Mia's screams pierced the air. She'd bet everything on Ethan, and she'd lost. I shielded the children in a corner, hanging my head and pretending to cry. My mother-in-law thought I was too sad and comforted me later, telling me not to listen to Mia's lies. Ethan wasn't like that. I nodded, pretending to be upset, but I didn't care. When someone dies, their reputation is what it is. I should thank him, though. He died in a way that left my children and me with nearly $15 million, enough for us to live comfortably. When my best friend came to see me, she was surprised I was doing so well. I smiled and told her what I thought. She fell silent for a moment, then asked, "What if Ethan hadn't died? What if he was still alive, still with Mia? What would I be doing now?" After thinking for a moment, I told her honestly, I could have let go, but the divorce wouldn't have come with all this money. She laughed, and I laughed too. I heard Mia rush to the hospital to get an abortion, but because she'd caused such a scene at Ethan's funeral, word had spread. When she was waiting for the procedure, other patients recognized her. Before the abortion could happen, Mia was kicked out of the hospital. She threw another tantrum, but only earned more contempt. She fell while running away, and the baby was lost. No abortion needed. Even then, no one felt sorry for her. She was mocked during her hospital stay and soon couldn't stay in the city anymore. On the day she left, I heard she'd gotten into a fight with her former company, only to be called a homewrecker who deserved her bad luck. She fled in disgrace, leaving nothing but laughter in her wake. Both incidents were filmed and posted online, drawing cheers from netizens. Many friends shared the videos with me, hinting that I should move forward and forget the past. At that time, I was sitting on the spacious balcony of our new home, teasing my babbling daughter and drinking afternoon tea. Move forward? Of course I would. From now on, there would be no cheating husbands, no mistresses, only me and my children. With nearly $15 million in inheritance, spoiled by both sides of our family, I was living a simple, wealthy life. My phone rang. It was my best friend. I answered, laughing as I listened. "The guy we met last time. I don't want to date. No plans to remarry, just a boyfriend. We'll see." I wasn't ready to give up this carefree life just yet. Thank you for reading today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and share with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more exciting stories. See you next time.